I don't want this to count against my time, but I just want to say that I think Domus being in San Diego is a wonderful thing for them and also for us. Italy is really tradition bound, and we are not. And we love to share from each other. Italy's going through a very difficult time right now with those traditions, but at the same time, there's some wonderful, beautiful things that we learn from Italy all the time. They're trying to come toward our mass market global, and we're trying to go back to the anima, the soul, that is really inculcated in so many of the products that come out of Italy, not just now, but for centuries. So I think Domus being here and having, Domus is really, and Elena, really are much more about the why of design. I think in America we tend to talk much more about the how. We want to get a job. Can't blame us. But I think these two ends coming in the middle really affords us at San Diegans, because this is a really unique community. I think we've got a unique camaraderie among ourselves. I think we have design coming from a lot of different angles. Product is a new one for us, so I think the chance for that to maybe be resonant in a place is good. Toward me, I'm a graphic designer and branding. I think I was invited because my last name is Italian. But I do spend a lot of time in Italy. I have a great admiration for Italy. I have a small place there I try to get to. And there's three things that I want to talk about tonight. Mine are more about not three products, but three personal experiences. I don't make products. We're really about storytelling. And if you talk about design in the highest level, it's really about connecting the dots to tell a story or have an experience. Been doing it for a lot of decades, and for most of those, I was trying to get rid of all the imperfections. And now that maybe I'm older, I'm starting to realize that that maybe is a mistake, that there's a lot of imperfection that can be honored and maybe actually have a lot of power. So this is, the first point is about celebrating imperfection, and I tell stories. This first story is about this product. This is a Ferrari Lusso, and somebody in town here owns one of them, Jonathan Siegel, and I was at his car garage once, and there was several groups of us there drinking, and some of us smoking cigars, not me, looking at the cars. And as I sat down rather late in the evening, I sat down next to a big guy, and I had been drinking, but I looked at this Lusso and I said, what is it about that car that impresses me so much, that holds me, that intrigues me? And I didn't expect much of an answer from this guy. I was making conversation, but he gave me a jewel, and I wanted to share that with you. He said, well, I have a theory about that. He said, look at those two fenders. So they're made on an English wheel. They're not the same. They're different. And I have a theory that we in our pea-brain central processor actually respond to those imperfections in a different way than perfection. He said, we live in a world where every product, every razor that you make, all 150 million of them, are identical. And now you've got a millennium generation who is really interested in making their own beer, weaving their own socks, making their own house, buying a typewriter instead of a computer. What's that all about? I think it's got something to do with that we're all connected and it's all perfect, but does it mean anything to an individual? We can collect all the data we want, but how do we feel about each other? And so as I stared at the Lusso, he went a little further, and he said, I actually am an expert in CATIA software, and what I do for a living is I take drawings and clay models from architects of cars, and I translate them into the algorithms that get them produced. All of a sudden, not only was I standing next to a guy, or sitting, sloshing next to a guy who not only knew about the subject, but did it for a living. And then he told me, he said, I don't really say this to too many people, but now I'll say it to all of you. he said that no one really tracks what I do because I'm an expert in CATIA software, and it's pretty complicated, and they trust me. But when I actually put those algorithms together, in the late of night, I actually put some numeric defects in the code. So when it goes to manufacturing, it actually holds that God force in it. And I thought, wow, he kind of nailed it. Now, I thought that was a fascinating observation, and I'll move on from there, but this Luso kind of holds that story for me. The second one is give commerce a rest. You realize that everything we talked about tonight had to do with selling something to somebody. And I would contend that we all have to be warm at night and make money, but not always are we best challenged by the clients that give us jobs. There's a lot of unused creativity going on if we're waiting for the client to be the one that challenges our highest and best use. So why don't we do more stuff on our own and maybe experiment among ourselves? I went through a really tough time, I think we all did, in 08, 09, 2010. So I decided clients were not inspiring me, so I decided to create a project and do what was called 100 Worlds and give myself the challenge to do 100 different globe-inspired images and use the globe as a metaphor. It's a canvas. I'm showing this not because it's a product, but it helped me to express myself in a different way and not ask the client to give me a brief that I thought was highly inventive. What it ended up doing, unnoticeably, was show clients other possibilities and other interests I had, so it's actually indirectly become a great marketing tool. And the last one is I call the Hovding girls, and I hope you don't mind me calling them girls, but if these girls were guys at 25, I'd call them guys. But these are two girls from Sweden. And the story about this to me is the surprise. If you go online, hovding.com, these two Swedish girls had an idea about a bicycle helmet. And I think it came because they didn't want their hair messed up when they got to work. That's viable. But they took it very seriously. This guy is wearing their helmet. And why I'm talking about this is because I found it to be a really cool suspension of their solution. I didn't know how the hell they'd solved it on this video. It goes for 4 minutes. And in the time that they're explaining their idea, it's all in Swedish with subtitles. My mind is reeling thinking, there's no helmet on that person. How do they solve this? And I just want to share with you how I felt during that time, which was, where's the solution? It's like watching a fly in a room and your kind of senses are tracking every wall because you don't know where it is. It was really fun. And that's the place of creativity they put me in. These guys are all wearing it. And here's an excerpt from a video, I think, if it'll play. Very much a surprise, not just where it came from, but their ability to think it and execute it into pretty complex technology. Thank you.